The secret buried in the gloomy forest terrifies everyone. Welcome back, dear viewers, to the latest episode of *Tuyat Mat. Ladies and gentlemen, in its early days of reclamation, the land of Ka Mau was a gloomy place, filled with toxic vapors. Back then, the vast forested land was still untouched by human hands, so tigers, leopards, snakes, scorpions, birds, and honey bears roamed freely without a care. On the river, turtles and crocodiles float lazily like rafts of logs. In the deep stretches, crocodiles are the fiercest of all. One notable point is that they do not like to hide in deep, fast-flowing river sections or windy, wavy areas. Instead, they often swim all the way to the headwaters, seeking out quiet and narrow spots. During the flood season, crocodiles often swim upstream along the Ongdok River, weaving through the canals to venture deep into the Melaleuca forest. Why is that? Despite enjoying human flesh, crocodiles primarily choose fish as their main food source. The U Minh Ha forest is home to the water tea tree, where fish thrive abundantly, providing tigers with an endless supply of prey. During the dry season, the forest stands bare as crocodiles retreat to the Great River. Within the forest, numerous ponds and waterholes naturally exist. These become their gathering place, a refuge where they thrive and multiply over the years. And so it went until our Vietnamese people landed on that ship to start a new life. At first, they thought crocodiles only lived in the river. But after catching 50 of them in the creek's upper reaches, they were sure the crocodile population had thinned out. It wasn't until the honey gatherer came running back from the forest with the news that everyone knew. Beneath the forest canopy, countless crocodiles lay scattered like ripe candlenut fruits covering the ground. Born and raised in U Minh, Mr. Nguyen Phuoc Hai shared that the U Minh forest is located in the southernmost part of the Mekong Delta, spanning the two provinces of Ca Mau and Kim Jeong, with an area of nearly 2,000 square kilometers. Back then, the animals in the U Minh forest were countless, so many that the descendants of Uncle Ba Phi told stories of them forming rafts and pulling boats faster than a machine gun. The story goes that the Melaleuca tree was so tall that when Uncle Ba Roy fell from its top to the base, it took him 7 days and 7 nights. When it comes to the iconic wild animals of the U Minh Ha region, Hai often mentions crocodiles and tigers the most. Enter the river, face the crocodile, step on land, meet the tiger. Ho Mam Sao Bat, Mrs. Nguyen Thi Du, former chairwoman of the Tan Phu Commune Women's Union, is a native of U Minh. When talking about tigers, she becomes visibly excited. Ong home. Long ago, tigers were so numerous that the mere sound of one would strike fear into everyone's hearts. Back then, the population was sparse, and much of the mountainous wilderness was the domain of tigers. Each jungle has its own tiger. Therefore, tigers are determined to defend their territory, even when facing humans. During the French colonial period, more and more people from the uplands migrated down to reclaim the U Minh region. As the lowlands became overcrowded, they had to gradually move deeper into the dense forests. At that time, humans and tigers lived close to each other, so heartbreaking tragedies were inevitable. Many people who go into the forest to collect honey are suddenly attacked and killed by tigers. Even the horseback mail carriers of that time could not escape the tragic fate of being caught by bears. Mr. Tu Thang, a longtime resident of the area, recounted stories from the past when he still lived in the village. I heard my grandparents say that in this land, people didn't dare venture deep into the forest to build their homes. They only built houses on small clearings by the river, then carefully fenced the area with knives to ward off wild beasts. However, there were days when, as dusk barely fell, he would quietly sneak near the pens to steal pigs, chickens, and ducks. Later, in the flooded forest region, the villagers whispered tales of an old tiger they affectionately called Mr. Van. A large male tiger, weighing nearly 200 kilograms, with dark golden fur adorned with black stripes. The villagers set traps and tried to catch him countless times, but Mr. Van always skillfully escaped. In the match against Mr. Nam Tin, a renowned tiger hunter of that time, Mr. Van was wounded in the leg and lost an eye. Mr. Nam was mauled by a tiger, severing his left arm, and his head slammed hard into a rock, leaving him staggering and dazed. Just looking at their faces, you can tell they're all a bunch of cunning, deceitful scoundrels. After the fierce battle, Mr. Van hid in the mountains and forests for a long time. Everyone thought he had moved to another area to continue his activities, or perhaps had already perished. Once, a group of honey hunters went into the forest to carve house rafters. As dusk fell, they lit a fire to ward off the bitter cold of the wilderness. People light fires to grill dried fish as bait to lure the drunken fish. Amid the cheerful conversation, a terrifying roar suddenly echoed, shaking the entire mountain forest. Suddenly, a desperate cry for help rang out. The poet Tone hurriedly ran to witness the terrifying scene of Hai hung with his own eyes. A forest drenched in blood and littered with corpses, where 5 decapitated and dismembered bodies lay scattered. Saw someone trying to push the blood out of the tree with their foot. Everyone hurriedly picked him up to take him back to the village when suddenly he uttered a few words. The one-eyed tiger, breathed its last breath. The fear of Mr. Van grew steadily stronger. I can't stand his arrogance anymore, and his schemes to harm others never even work. The villagers then discussed and decided to build a shrine to worship the tiger. During each offering ceremony, they would often sacrifice a pig and then leave it in the middle of the forest. Ever since the shrine was built and the pig head offering ceremony began to take place. Perhaps because he was fed well, Mr. 30 has become less mischievous. Therefore, the people firmly believe that the tiger is sacred. Black tiger guarding the house. To pray for children to be easy to raise, free from illness or disturbances by evil spirits. Sometimes, people even hang up the 5 tigers amulet. People dream of the tiger god adorned in 5 colors corresponding to the 5 elements: blue, red, yellow, white, and black. To pray for the family's everlasting peace. Many times, the station felt disheartened from having to guard the tigers. The people of Yumin have accumulated valuable experience to cope with challenges. Not even a star can compare to him. Many tigers that have fought humans have become exceedingly cunning. Lie on your back with your belly up, observing the opponent through the gap between the front legs and hind legs. The tiger stands poised, patiently awaiting the opportune moment. If anyone gets hot-headed and charges at him to throw punches, they'll get dealt with neatly. At that moment, the tiger will stalk, pounce, and no matter how strong a person is, they won't be able to struggle free. The tiger seizes the opportunity to pounce on its prey in the blink of an eye. He once practiced martial arts and was a famed tiger hunter in his day. Sharing tips on setting sharpened stake traps for hunting fierce tigers. Tiger cubs usually prefer fresh meat, while older tigers favor slightly spoiled meat. Set the trap based on its characteristics. First, tie a piece of string through the protective tube to secure the loop, preventing it from being bitten through by the tiger. On the pipe section covering the fresh meat bait, under the noose, they placed a trap table. Next to the trap, dig a deep hole camouflaged with leaves, and line the bottom with jungle vines. When a tiger falls into a trap or a pit, it cannot struggle its way out. At this point, he predicted that this measure would not always yield the desired results. When trapped in snare loops, tigers that are too strong may struggle so violently that they bite off their own legs to escape. When first settling the land, the number of martial arts masters capable of defeating a tiger was not large. Thus, the fierce tiger roamed freely as if in a deserted land. Later, as they frequently had to confront fierce tigers, the settlers in the far-off land increasingly honed their skills in fighting the beasts. As a result, his skill in setting traps for the Jungle King also became more sophisticated. Hai stood at the shallow shore, carefully placing down the bottle of glutinous rice wine, his eyes flickering with a hint of regret. Long ago, the more tigers there were, the scarcer the deer became. Many years have passed, and the people of Min no longer have to cry out to heaven because of the menace of fierce tigers. A bittersweet feeling, as this shows that the endemic wildlife of Min is nearly extinct. Mr. Moi Lu, who lived nearby, came over and firmly declared that the tiger Min was struck by lightning because of a sorcerer who specialized in luring tigers. The men practiced some kind of sorcery to suppress tigers, so over time, all the tigers in this area fled and vanished without a trace. Mr. Moi had another way of explaining it. Back then, many skilled martial arts masters from Bin Din, Quang Gai, and Fu Yan wandered into this region. Tigers you catch, evils you repel. The masters' martial arts were so sublime that tigers would tuck their tails and flee at the mere sight of their shadow from afar. T let you off, they. A teacher leapt onto the tiger's back in a flash, striking with lightning speed, forcing even the fiercest beast to collapse instantly. There are many reasons why the Lord of the Jungle is absent from the land of Duang Min. However, the most convincing explanation is that Duang Min's influence has been steadily diminishing. Once again, the cruel exploitation by the village's tyrannical bullies. The tiger Min went extinct due to wealthy elites hunting them for sport. The legend tells that in the Yumin Lam Sun Forest, there are not only ugly fish or tigers, but also a strange, eerie energy. There was a mysterious kingdom ruled by a pair of giant serpents, their bodies spanning several zhang in width. Here, there are also seasoned sorcerers who use dark magic to control swarms of venomous roaches at will. Late at night in Duong Dak Dung Pha Roy, considered the last remaining pristine Melaleuca forest of the Duong Minh Ha region. The quiet space suddenly became noisy with the sound of monkeys chattering and the call of a gecko. When the flashlight shone directly at the troop of monkeys, everyone was stunned. The python was now just a lifeless body dangling from a nearly 10-meter-high Melaleuca tree, its jaws still clamped tightly around the giant snake. Mr. Nguyen Van Kua, head of the Cam Mai Forest Protection Department, recounted when witnessing this scene. The whole team ran back to the district to report, their minds filled with confusion and turmoil. He had to use all his words to encourage his comrades. They finally returned to their guard post. Not long before that, even Kua himself had encountered a giant snake. While riding a motorbike with a ranger to inspect forest checkpoints, I had a fall. Earlier, in a patch of forest near the fallen beetle leaves, a farmer accidentally cut off a snake's tail while clearing the bushes. When they brought back a small section of the tail to test, it already weighed a hefty 7.5 kilogram. And so, the stories, part fact, part fiction, continued to spread. The half-real, half-fictional tale of giant snakes in Phao Roy Forest has made many honey hunters wary. Those snake doctors wouldn't dare set foot in the forest. A few years ago in April, Mr. Trinh Van Oat, an experienced snake catcher in Con Lam Commune in U Minh District, Ca Mau, while slightly drunk, he had a conversation with the district police chief. No paperwork, whoever lets me in, I. 2 kilometers away, snakebite specialist Phan Phan Thuan was deep in thought. Throughout my decades of catching snakes to save people, I've encountered many venomous species like the king cobra, banded kite, and Malayan pit viper. Since the beginning of this year, I have recorded many cases of bites from unfamiliar snakes. Notably, even cobras that typically live in the mountains have now appeared. Currently, in the entire U Minh Ha region, there are only about 20 people left who can treat victims of venomous snake bites. Half of these people were still engrossed in searching everywhere, from the edges of the fields to the fringes of the forest, catching snakes to make a delicacy for chewing. Mr. Trinh Van Oat recounted that at the age of 20, he had joined the Cambodian battlefield as part of the 330th Regiment. Upon his return, by a stroke of luck, he met a senior who taught him the art of snake charming along with an oath. When using learned knowledge to save someone, you must not accept money. But because life was so wretched, he had no choice but to use his own knowledge to make a living by catching snakes. Around 1984 or 1985, there were days when he caught several snake nests and earned a few million dong. With that money, he bought 14 acres of farmland as a reserve for future needs. In recent years, the Melaleuca forests have experienced many heavy fruiting seasons, causing their area to shrink increasingly. As forests are increasingly well protected, people like him can hardly set foot in them anymore. Mr. Oat has been bitten by snakes more than 10 times, but each time he managed to heal himself. T remember how many people he had saved from venomous snake bites, haunted only by the one time he couldn't. Sadly, his own brother, Trinh Van Thang, also took up snake catching as a trade. Mr. Trinh Van Thang has been bitten by snakes 26 times, but each time, Mr. Oat saved and cured him. By the 27th time he was bitten by a king cobra, Mr. Oat had invited the 5 best snake doctors in Minh to treat him together. But all were powerless. The king cobra is a snake that even the snake charmers of U Minh hold in fearful respect. According to legend, this snake can emit a crowing sound to lure its prey. Many seasoned snake hunters have lost their lives to it. Mr. Phan Van Thuan, now 67 years old, has followed in his father's footsteps as a snake doctor for 40 years. To this day, even he cannot remember how many people he has saved. Within a 10-kilometer radius around his home, he handles several dozen cases of venomous snake bites each year. Throughout his 40-year career, he has always taken pride in never accepting a single penny in compensation from those he has rescued. She does not take money from the sick, does not use her powers to harm others, and does not kill snakes indiscriminately. These are the 3 principles that snake masters like Minh consider professional ethics to uphold. In reality, many snake handlers have paid a heavy price for daring to violate the taboos of their trade. The 2 most skilled snakebite healers in the Minh region ultimately met the same fate. Both were skilled at handling king cobras, yet neither was well off, living a wandering life, here today and gone tomorrow. Mr. Tam made a living by catching and selling snakes. Once, Mr. Tam encountered a strange snake that dared to rear its head and flare its hood to threaten him. That time, he released all the dozens of snakes in the bag. Another time, he went to catch snakes, loading several sacks onto the bone cart. As he was swimming home, that very snake lay in wait beneath the boat's hull and suddenly struck him with a bite. Upon hearing the news, the best snake doctors in the land of Min all gathered. Some were sorrowful, while others hurriedly prepared remedies. Mr. Tam shook his head and said it was time to repay the debt. The passing of Master Tamrod has left a profound void in the hearts of snake catchers in Min. Master Nam Nok is considered the top expert today. Though he was the foremost snake-catching master, he made a living by spearing river demons and catching fish in the river. People still vividly remember the story of Mr. Nam Nok losing 2 large catfish. Mr. Grumpy declared that whoever dared to steal his fish would have to repay him with a pig. 10 days later, a man named Mo in Hong Mai was bitten by a venomous snake while clearing the fields. Mr. Nam Nok said that to recover from the illness, one must offer a pig as a sacrifice. It turns out Mr. Mo was the one who stole Mr. Nam Nok's 2 fish. Mr. Nam Nok is a renowned snakebite healer, but he is also known for his ability to control snakes to attack others. Towards the end of his life, he lived in a state of panic, often crawling under the floorboards and curling up like a snake. They say he was hexed. Mysterious stories like these perhaps cannot be explained through a scientific lens. Many people in Min have long held the absolute belief in their traditional method of treating snakebites. The lives of snakebite healers depend on the unpredictable nature of snakes. However, the snake doctors will also vanish, like fading legends in the Min region. Not so fast, there's one more thing. On a weekend not long after the Lunar New Year of the Cat 2023, the incident occurred. Up to now, Mr. Bin still couldn't help but be curious about the giant snake he had witnessed for the first time with his own eyes. That morning, Mr. Bin and his 3 close friends. The motorcycle has been brought to checkpoint 23,100 in Kwok Gia Ward to support fishing activities. The group split off to a familiar area with plenty of fish to cast their lines. It was past 10 a.m., and Mr. Bin's fishing spot was filled with a flock of birds, their wings covering a vast stretch of the sky. Suspecting something was wrong, he quickly turned his car around and headed back to the meeting spot with his fishing buddies. Just then, a large log suddenly fell and blocked the road. Mr. Bin recalled that he had passed by that road before but didn't see any log there at all. Suddenly, something appeared, twice as big as a banana tree and slightly yellowish in color. He slowly drove closer, intending to shift gears and come to a complete stop, but unexpectedly, the car kept rolling forward. 3 minutes later, the log was only blocking half of the road. Mr. Hoang turned around in fear and fled, belonging to the rebel faction. After escaping from that terrifying walking creature, Mr. Bin immediately called his teammates to raise the alarm. His group had returned home safely, but even months later, they still didn't dare set foot near the fish bridge area again. Remember and recall the stories that he had once heard the Duong workers tell. Most likely, it was the legendary serpent of